the serene to the extreme. These people are not having a regular Tuesday. These people are lost in the moment. But first I want to tell you a little about who I am. I'm Cris Beasley. I don't have notes. Can I get notes? Backstage. Notes, notes, notes. There we go. Awesome. I'm definitely Crystal, as it says on that slide. I've spent 2 decades designing experiences for the web for companies like Firefox. And then I went on to found my own startup. But most recently, I've started a YouTube channel about experiences in virtual reality. But what we're here to talk about today, which is connected to virtual reality, but not obviously, is what is flow? Why should you care about it? And assuming that I've convinced you that you can, how to do it. Here's one flow state that might freak you out. I spent a decade doing that flow state, which you might recognize as speaking in tongues. But first, let's talk about what flow is, because one of the hardest parts, honestly, about pulling together this presentation was even how to describe what it is that I'm talking about. It goes by a lot of different names. An altered state of consciousness, although I'm not talking about the ones induced by drugs, or a non-ordinary state of consciousness. But what I'm trying to get at is how the body teaches and shapes the mind. So we're going to do 2 quick examples of how your consciousness gets in the way of what your unconscious knows. So, put on your seatbelts, we're gonna grab our steering wheel, and I'm gonna have you guys change lanes. This doesn't work if you don't actually put your hand, like this is a talk about the body, you have to do the thing with your body, right? All right, much better. So, here we go. 3, 2, 1, turn, and then go back to the lane. So most of you did this, and then you did this. You just drove off the road. Your conscious brain does not know how to drive. Because to execute a lane change, you do this, and then you turn to the other direction as far as you did, and then you come back to center. One more, quick one. I want you to hold, I'm gonna put my clicker down. I want you to take both hands as if you had markers, and there was a whiteboard in front of you, and you're gonna sign your name in mirror image with both hands. Ready? Okay, do it. If you stop and think about it, you will not do it. Only your body knows how to do this thing that it has never done before, and you didn't even know your body knew how to do that. But in general, it's just real hard to give our conscious minds a break. Even those of us who are already convinced that meditation and being in the present is really a good thing, sometimes we can't get to sleep at night because we can't shut off that inner dialogue and the demons, and they got crap to say to us. And we struggle to be in the moment, right? This talk is about how to use your body to get to that quiet state. You may not know that Einstein was an amazing violin player, and he was a master of it. He took his violin with him everywhere that he went. Playing the violin is a physical endeavor, and having that mastery of that physical activity changed his brain. When he died, people were like, I want Einstein's brain. And they did a whole bunch of experiments on it, and they found a structure that's called the sign of omega that violin players have. Things that you do in your body change your brain. A piano player has a different signature. But our brains are this sort of history of all the skills that our body has and all the senses it has taken in and made reasoning with. The best note about this is perhaps that you can learn to enter a flow state. Bad news is it actually is a skill. It's something that you might not succeed at the first time. So let's go through one that maybe is a bit more comfortable. Some of you who were here last year saw Mindy Ray Kroc speak about flow states via freediving and what incredible moments that has been for her. I am going to use a completely different lens to talk about exactly the same thing, and that is the concept that there are 7 elements of embodiment, and that these 7 elements are found in things that might look completely different to you guys. You might look at the clips that we started with and say, freediving and standing under a freezing cold waterfall and rope bondage and speaking in tongues, those are just vastly different kinds of human experience. But this is my attempt to bring those together into a framework so that we can understand what's happening and how we can do it. So the first one is motion. This is swimming, right? So you're swimming, you're paddling down. Pose, sort of like body language. She's like this. If you were like this, you can tell those are very different emotional states. We read what people are feeling by what shape their body is taking, but it's actually the arrow of causation goes the other direction as well. When I was backstage, I was dancing frantically, and one of the AV guys said, "Oh, you must be having a good day because you're dancing." I'm like, "No, I'm not dancing. I'm not happy because I'm dancing." Why am I getting this backwards? I'm happy because I'm dancing. I'm not dancing because I'm happy. You can make yourself happy by doing the thing that matches the state that you want to be in. Exertion. Obviously, freediving is at the limits of her physical strength. So she is putting so much of her entire body to swim down, and that changes what's going on in your brain. The sound of it is very silent. It's a cocoon. Maybe there's a little bit of the water sounds from whatever else is happening, but it's a pretty closed, you're in your own world. Synchronization. In this case, she is swimming with a very constant rhythm. The only thing that she has her awareness on is how many times she has kicked down. How many kicks? 1, 2, 3, 4. It is this very, very simple thing for her to put her conscious awareness on. Touch. In this case, the cold of the water and the compression of the water is completely hijacking her sense of touch. The mammalian dive response that's so critical at changing her metabolism and allowing her to hold her breath for as long as she can is actually triggered by the cold and the pressure of the water on this part of her face. And lastly, breath. Freediving, obviously, breath is the most important part. It's the thing that makes it. You're holding your breath. So let's take it again from the top for something that you might think is very different, speaking in tongues. Motion, in this case, they're jumping, dancing, running often. You see a lot of people here with their hands raised. We see this as well in some of the other trance video at the very beginning. Exertion. This is actually exhausting. You sort of lose your sense of time when you're in a flow state. So these people can do this, and I did it for myself, for hours and hours and hours on end, and you would come to the end and have absolutely no time concept at all. You would, was that 15 minutes or 4 hours? Have to look at the clock to find out. The way that they get into this trance state is by singing simple, repetitive songs. Again, it gives your conscious thing a place to rest, but after a while you can just slip away from that consciousness because it just becomes very automatic. And then once other people start speaking in tongues, it's kind of like yawning, it catches. And then synchronization. In this case, you're synchronized via the song. Songs are a really efficient way to get people to do things in rhythm, and they also do those kinds of things in sync with each other. So you get the whole crowd clapping, or the whole crowd swaying, or the whole crowd jumping. And our mirror neurons just love that. There's things that you would do that they wouldn't feel like you did anything at all. Like if I was sitting in a chair now and I did this, well, that wasn't a super big thing. But when you're in a stadium full of people and you do the wave, your brain goes, oh, look, like people. And we all did it, and we were in synchronization, and oh my God, that was super fun. Touch has actually a very specific name. Laying on of hands is what it's referred to as, and it has a huge significance. If you've never really thought about it, having someone touch you on the face is just incredibly intimate. And like they have your attention. Somebody's touching your face, they got your attention. Just saying. So if the thread isn't clear of places to distract your conscious mind with something that they can start to just exist in that very moment that there's nowhere to escape from, and that's what allows you to slip into the flow state. And lastly, breath, songs again. Songs are super efficient. They're in every single culture. We were probably singing before we had proper language. Songs are super fundamental aspect of being a human. Whales sing. Like, it's a thing that is core to our being, and the reason that it works and it's persisted throughout time and even across species is because our brains really love that rhythmic aspect of it. And one of the ways that it works really well is because when you're singing, you're not able to breathe shallowly. You're going to take breaths very rhythmically, very deeply, and it's kind of tricking you into meditating in a funny way. It's definitely the same mechanism as meditation in that way. So I think the question I get asked most often is, what was that like? Such a strange, except for the people like, I was in a cult too, and then we hug. You know who you are. But I want to quote Mandy Ray Kroc, because when she said this last year, I went, oh, that's exactly how I describe what it felt like for me. She said, she focuses on the water and everything just melts away. It's this aspect of being lost in the moment, quieting the internal voices, losing your sense of time, and just being completely present in your body. So the framework of the 7 elements, I just want to take a little quick survey since we kind of established a baseline. Has anybody experienced what you would call a flow state? Does anybody want to call out what it was?
Transcendental meditation.
Okay. Anybody else? Swimming? I've heard swimming a lot. Yeah, ocean swimming. I mean, swimming is not diving, but swimming is a super excellent way of coordinating it, again, because you have that rhythm, you have that breath discipline, and it just totally hijacks your senses. Anybody else?
Hiking.
Hiking, definitely.
Playing in a punk band.
Playing in a punk band. Awesome. I mean, I could easily take all of those examples and go back through the 7 elements, and all of them use at least 6, if not 7, of those elements. And it's not magic, guys. It's not supernatural. I fully believe that if I was given the environment and the sensory inputs of the things that the church had given me, that I could speak in tongues again. I haven't had those inputs, so I haven't done that, but I have done a lot of other different things that get to sort of a different kind of flow state. They all feel a little bit different. I think of it a little bit like cooking, in the same way that there's sweet, there's sour, there's salty, bitter, umami, and none of those are any better than the other one, but in one dish, sweet might be the dominant element. So in freediving, breath is the dominant element. In speaking in tongues, the sound that you're producing is the dominant element. Depending on what instrument you play in the punk band, playing drums is an incredibly physical act. Anything with rhythm is just a super quick way to get your brain to go, oh, this is a very complex rhythm. I have no time to think about the grocery list, or what somebody said to me that really hurt my feelings, or none of that nonsense. None of the demons have a chance to get in there and say anything to you, because your whole body is immersed in that. I hope that in this very short amount of time, I've sparked your curiosity to be more connected to your body. Flow states are totally accessible to you. There's a whole bunch of different ones. If you don't like one, try another. If you don't like cake, go have some steak. I don't know. There's a bunch of stuff out there. Be curious. I love what was said earlier about observing and experimenting. That's what I've been in the process of doing for the last 7 years about this topic. It actually took me 7 years to give this talk here today. I proposed it literally at an Ignite in 2007 in Portland and had panic attack the night before because I couldn't write it. And I talked to my friend, he's like, you can't write it because you don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, right. You're a good friend. But I did the work, and it's fascinating, and I feel with all the certainty it's possible to have in a moment that I will spend the rest of my life exploring wherever this thread takes me. So please come up and have a chat. My hope for you is that you find your flow. And my show is about how flow states can be made synthetically in virtual reality. So definitely come check it out if you want to talk about that. And then that's it. So thank you very much.
What's the name of the show?
The name of the show, thank you, front row. The name of the show is Embodied Reality, and it's on YouTube. Thank you guys, bye.